Welcome to the Perfect Life Awakening Show, hosted by Royce Morales. Royce has been a transformational facilitator, teaching groundbreaking, spiritually based courses for more than 4 decades. She is the author of 3 books about her teachings. Join Royce as she takes you on a journey into how to live your best life and find your true purpose through discovering the origins of subconscious, disempowering notions and releasing them. She talks with experts and inspiring people just like you who learned to trust their intuitive inner wisdom, which led to life-changing shifts. Today, her guests live an empowered existence and are helping change the world to a higher consciousness place based on truth and love. You deserve to awaken to, align with, and embody your true self and live a life filled with love. Transform yourself from triggered to empowered and create your perfect life. Here is your host, Royce Morales.
Hello, welcome. Very excited today. As always, I have an amazing guest. And before I even introduce her, I want to share with everyone about an event that I'm putting on. It's actually a panel discussion with 3 other amazing women, and we're going to talk about awakening. It's something that in the spiritual realm, everybody seems to talk about it. It's one of those buzzwords, but do you really know what it means, and how do you get there, and what is it really about, and why is it so scary for people to imagine living an awakened life, whatever that means? So put on your calendars that August 8th, 8/8 at 8 a.m. Pacific time, we're going to be holding this panel discussion. And if you're interested in enrolling, I don't even have the link for it yet, but you can email me at royce@roycemorales.com. That's royce@roycemorales.com, and I will send you the information as soon as I get it. The other thing to remind everybody about is my Substack, which is called Royce's Ramblings. And I really get into some deep issues. And I bare my soul. I tell everybody what's been going on for me and incorporate that into a positive, enlightening message, of course. So feel free to sign up, Royce's Ramblings. And something else real exciting, I was invited to have like a little question answer column in the Om Times newsletter. So every month I am answering questions that people submit to me, and feel free to send those over. You can send them to me or directly over to Om Times. So that's it for my PR. So let me tell you about my upcoming guest today. Her name is Tonyah Dee, and she's a registered dietitian. There she is. She's a registered dietitian, master meditation teacher, life coach, and singer-songwriter, if that's not enough here. And she helps people move through life's most challenging struggles and transitions like addiction recovery, disordered eating, co-dependency, divorce, and of course, even more than that. She uses what she calls Christ-centered meditation and prayers that she developed that are scientifically proven, and I'll have to ask her about that. They're tools for achieving clarity, authenticity, and healing. And she teaches people how to connect with their inner light, or what I refer to as their inner spirit, to build emotional and spiritual intelligence rooted in when people just don't have personal trust and self-awareness. It's really easy to disconnect from that inner part of us. So welcome, Tonyah.
Hi, Royce. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. So first of all, how did you start doing what you're doing? I read somewhere in your bio that you're able to connect with people that have gone through certain things because you've personally gone through them. So tell us your story. How did you get started?
My journey of healing actually probably started my spiritual journey when I was 14 and my parents divorced. And it was a like a time of coming of age, and I didn't really have anybody to ground myself in because my family sort of dissolved and disappeared. So I didn't even realize it, but I had so much anxiety from 14 to 24, and in that period my anxiety manifested in an exercise disorder where I exercised, over exercised, which turned into an eating disorder, and codependency, substance use. So early in my life, I was dealing with levels of pain and not coping with these higher consciousness ways of dealing with pain because I had no idea. And I think that that's how most of us, a lot of us on the spiritual journey or on our life journey, end up, just finding things to numb the pain, abandon ourselves in the process. And so I became a registered dietitian. That was my journey through college, trying to figure out, like, why am I eating like this? What are these, habits that I cannot control? So that was kind of the first layer, was become a science major, registered dietitian, learning all about the body. And then from there, I, at about 24, I had a spiritual awakening where I accepted Jesus into my heart, and things really shifted for me. Like my mind really had a whole different journey after that. So this is where spirituality, higher, like this higher power started coming in. And then when I'm just telling you my layers, and then at 40, I went through a divorce, and my ex-husband and I had gotten into psychotherapy together. And I'd say that that was another layer of learning my psychological self, like these deeper patterns inside of me. And then the final layer came when my anxiety disorder really magnified itself after my divorce. And my doctor said, well, you can take this medication or you can learn to meditate. And being
Wise doctor. Yay.
I know, I was so lucky. And I, of course, being holistic and a dietitian and health oriented, I said, I'm going to learn how to meditate. And that sent me into a 10-year, like 600-hour training in Kundalini yoga, which is a yoga that's primarily meant to take us into deeper states of meditation. And it was really in these deeper states of meditation where it all sort of pulled together, like all these life experiences, the history that I had had. And I really connected, because in Kundalini yoga, you have to get up at 4:30 in the morning, and you're chanting and you're meditating for 2 hours every morning for like forever. It seemed like. And that's where I connected, you call it an intuitive wisdom. I've read that in your readings, and that I connected to what spiritually is called the Holy Spirit, or this wisdom that just lives here. And that started telling me my life path. So you're going to write a book, this was the hardest one for me, is you're going to become a devotional chant. I want you to make devotional chant music. And I'm a dietitian with anxiety. And I did that. And now I have like 3 albums, 1 album on the way, of devotional chant music that's all in English. So, like, long story short, it's really my healing journey. And this has happened, like, I'm going to turn 63 next year. And so this was from 14 to who I am now. And along the way, I was helping women who have eating disorders. And then I was helping codependency. So I've been helping primarily women my whole journey. And I still do that. That's what I specialize in, just holding groups of women, and I teach classes and stuff like that. So that was a very long story, but from that story, things became very clear, like not so complicated. So now I can look back and help people, I think, in a pretty easy way, how to follow this path of transformation, because it can be so difficult, overwhelming. And I try to simplify it and give, in my bio, I have I actually teach some life skills, and you talk about that a lot. So yes, that's my journey. It's been a long one, like we all have, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I'm just curious, and so many people have taken my course that find it difficult to blend religion and spirituality, and yet it sounded like it just sort of happened for you naturally. You accepted Jesus, and then you went into Kundalini. I mean, how did you bridge the two?
I think that once I became a Christian, a follower of Christ, that's what I am. I love the teachings of Jesus. So it's not about religion. It's about a felt experience of this presence inside of me. Once I found that, and then I got into Kundalini Yoga, it's interesting because a lot of religion or religious texts tend to be kind of intellectual,
Yeah.
except for maybe, singing hymns. But the Kundalini Yoga really takes you in, you're going inward. And I studied not only the Bible for so long, but I started studying all the Eastern texts, Patanjali and the Sutra, like the Yoga Sutras, like all of this stuff. And I just kept seeing this, they might say it in a different way. There's different languages. And even a program like the 12 Steps has different languaging. But the process all seems to be the same for almost everyone around the world. And so and it is still kind of hard. I get, the real conservative Christians might call me New Age, and I say, no, I'm a new wineskin, which Jesus said, I came to pour new teachings into new wineskins. So we're allowed to teach in a new way for the new generation. And the young people love the teachings that I do, because a lot of them do yoga,
Yeah.
So, or meditation. So I just feel like, God's been around since the beginning of the earth, or the creator, whatever you want to use as the word. And, Jesus came 2,000 years ago, but before that, the teachings, God's been trying to reach us to get us to do these things forever. So for me, it's pretty clear that inclusivity can only help us. And these practices that may be from a different religion or Aboriginal tribe, drumming or something, right, really stirs the spirit inside of us and can really heal our souls. So I really and that's Jesus too. He's all about inclusivity and social justice. So I just like to be as much like Jesus as I can. And you've said this too, love your neighbor, love your neighbor. And that requires self-love.
Yes.
So, that's the hardest part, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm stuck on that word wineskin. What does that mean? I've never heard that.
In the Bible, there's a scene where Jesus is talking about the carrier of wine. They used to carry it in like a Boda bag, right? And these bags would get old, and they would call it an old wineskin. and the wine inside of it would go bad. It was like, it was too old. And so Jesus comes and he says, I'm here to pour my teachings into new wine skins. He's talking about people who are open and receptive to hear his teaching and be able to make it their own in a new and unique way. Like Jesus knows we all are going to take whatever teaching we have, it could be even from Buddha, and we're going to express it through our soul, because all of our soul's experiences are so different.
Mhm.
And we're going to express it in a unique way. And, that's what I do. It's unique. I'm saying you can meditate. And when you learn to meditate, you're going to find God because it's right here.
Yeah.
Right. And you're going to find Jesus. So, or you can, if you understand the concepts. Yeah, I just love that, new age, old age. It's so, I don't know, it just puts like a judgment, and wherever you put judgment creates separation. And I don't think Jesus would ever want people to be saying like, your teaching is like new age, like with a bad connotation.
Right. Yeah.
So I say to a lot of those people, well, you must just be from the old age. Sorry.
So, okay, so that helps. So, what are the techniques that you use? You say that some of these things are scientifically proven. Tell us a little bit more about that.
I love, love, love science. My dad was a science teacher, and I'm a science major. And whenever I can kind of blend science and spirituality, to me, it feels like doubly more empowering. So the science behind a lot of the stuff that I do comes from, let's say, meditation, right? I mean, scientifically, meditation now has just been proven to have like the long list of benefits, right? Stress reduction, inner peace, lowers anxiety, can help depression. Like meditation gives you a higher awareness of things, mindfulness, just so many benefits. So that's scientifically proven. And, spiritually, it says, like in the Bible or other texts, like, be still, be silent, go within. It says all the same things. And it even says, I meditate a lot in the Bible. And, meditation is this practice where we're becoming self-aware. And, your question at the very beginning is, how do we transform pain? And we have to be very, very self-aware to do that. And meditation for me, it's the path, leads to greater and greater levels of self-love. So, scientifically proven, all the Kundalini yoga is totally scientifically proven. The gurus, that created this yoga, they're all like PhDs, and it's amazing the education that these people have and their backgrounds, and the breath alone, the power of our breath, and that's all scientifically proven. When we breathe a certain way, it releases either a stress chemical in our down through our body, or a relaxation. We can totally change how we're experiencing life just through our breath. So like breath work and is so important. And that's also like biblically, the breath is the spirit. The breath is God's spirit. God breathed into us the breath of life, and we became a human being. So our breath, and then there's all these references to breath, is God's spirit. It's very powerful. It's creative. It's inspirational. It creates inspiration. So like the science and the spirituality on a lot of levels are really saying we have tools that we can use, and we have tools once we really start focusing on who we are as a human being, how supernaturally we are created to be. It's amazing the few things that we can do that are kind of easy for us, right?
Like what?
Okay, so I'm going to say there's a lot. There's grounding, there's being in nature, there's of course there's nutrition and movement, whether it's dance or whatever. But I really want to, with you, explain something that is so important. I feel like it's probably my main gift for my teaching is, so many people, you and everybody, talking about the true self, self-development, self-love, self-awareness. So this word, right, comes up a lot, self. And knowing, so the biggest tool I think we can have is knowing our true self. But that word is so diluted and everybody has their own definition. And what I have found through reading the scriptural texts and practicing meditation for so long is this truth for me is that our true self, has 3 parts. So I don't know if you've heard this. A lot of people say body, mind, spirit, body, spirit, this, but I always feel like one part's left out. So I found in my teaching, the Bible has it the clearest. It says, we're a human being. We live in a body. We all have a unique soul. That's the next layer. And then we are a spirit. That's the most inner layer. And our human spirit was given to us so we could connect to God's spirit. So when we do this awareness of these parts, and we know we can connect to this higher spirit, God, the universe, the Indra's net, whatever you want to call it, there is a power, right? That's in everything that's alive and created. So this is the practice for me. I want to get into this early. We're going to have pain coming from all 3 of these parts. We have pain, bodily pains. I started swimming, and again, I hadn't swum in a long time, and I got this pain here. It's just a bodily pain, right? And I'm aware of that pain in my body. And if we go into that next layer, our soul, and our soul, to me, the soul is the same word as the self. So it's soul love, self-love, soul awareness, self-awareness. It's all of it. Soul esteem, soul sabotage. Our soul is where we're going to find all this sabotaging going on. And our soul includes our mind. So all of our thoughts are in our soul. Our emotions come from our soul. Our emotions tell us what our soul is experiencing in this daily life. And the third aspect of the soul is our desires, like our free will, saying, I want this, I don't want this, making these choices. So this is what makes our soul, it's so powerful, right? You can see that. So we've got our body, very powerful, all these systems, lymphatic, circulatory, sensory. And then we have this next layer, our soul, so powerful. And this is where self-sabotage comes from. This is where self-awareness has to come from. Awareness of our thoughts, awareness of our feelings, and aware of what we desire in life. I want another cup of coffee. That's just coming from that desire. I hunger for a relationship. That's coming from that part of us, our free will, our desire. So we have this like body, our soul is the next layer. And then we have this deeper part that's the spirit that's can be aware of all of these parts, and it's the higher power. And pain comes from all three parts. So we can see that now. Pain comes from our body. Pain clearly comes from our soul. Our thoughts, I'm in pain. Our emotions, I feel sad. I feel angry. Like a lot of pain in our emotions. And our spirit actually can be grieving as well if we are not aligning with our values. Mm-hmm. So if we have certain values, like I know I can't drink a lot of alcohol, very little. But when I try, and I know I can't, I'm not aligned with my values. Or if I do anything that's not aligned with what my spirit knows is the highest and best good for me, it grieves. So you wake up in the next morning and you'll feel sad. So we have these three parts that we have to always sort of be internally looking at and being self-aware. So this is the whole picture of, like, everybody's talking about, awakening, like you were talking about, you're going to hold your event. What are we awakening to? We're really awakening to this amazing thing that we are. Body, soul, spirit, connected to this higher power. And so we're a human and we have divinity inside of us, a creativity inside of us. When we connect all the parts and all the parts are kind of working all together, this one's helping this one, this one's helping this one, in our own little body here. Lots going on. And that's why meditation's super helpful, even just for a season, to just observe all of this going on in our body. And you can start to go, oh, that's hello. You sit down in the morning and your soul will be the first thing to come up, your thoughts. I'm trying to solve this problem. Your thoughts, our mind is never going to stop thinking. So people get that wrong in meditation, like we're supposed to just stop thinking.
Right, yeah.
Never going to happen, because that's the purpose of our mind. And then then you tap into a feeling. I'm feeling sad this morning, so your soul comes forward and you really begin to, it's not an intellectual truth that we're multidimensional. It's experiential. And then that's when the whole thing starts to get ignited, like, oh, and I actually have some control over this thing that I am. So, that was kind of, like you said, it was okay for me to be long-winded, but that is how I make a meditation practice very accessible to people, because people say, I don't know how to meditate. It's too hard. I sit down and all I do is think. It's not just thinking, you're feeling and you're desiring, because you'll sit down and you'll want that other cup of coffee, or you'll want to not be there, or you'll want like the window open or something. So all of these parts of the soul come forward right away. And it's, the idea is the spirit is the witness. Our spirit, connected to God's spirit, is light. It's a lamp. It's supposed to shine. There's a Bible verse that says the spirit of man is the lamp of the Lord, shining on all of our inner parts. So it shines on our thoughts and our emotions and our desires, and it makes us aware of them. And then we can do something about it. So I just really believe that it's like that inner makeover that you talk about, right? You have to be able to go inside. and you have to be understanding your soul and having compassion for whatever it is that your mind's trying to solve that problem or analyze this thing or whatever thing you're feeling. You know, you've got to say, oh, I see you. I hear you. I value you. And that's the key to getting over the addictions, the codependency, the substance use, because all of that stuff says to our soul, I don't want to see you, right? I'm not going to value you. As a matter of fact, I might even abuse you. I'm going to drink too much. I'm going to take these drugs to get you to be quiet.
Yeah, we're always trying to do that, aren't we?
Yeah, and it's the complete opposite. You're like, wow, my mind is really ruminating on this thing. What is it that it's trying to solve? And we start to look at our soul as something that's so valuable to us. It's guiding us along the way. It's telling us, solve this issue. Take one step forward in this area. You know, and then if you get really deep and you find that like intuitive wisdom, your mind's struggling here, and the intuitive wisdom will tell you what to do. So it's all happening. It's all happening right here, but we have to take this the season of I used to abandon myself. I used to betray myself. Like a lot, I used to abuse myself actually. And I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to value my soul, self-love, soul love.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to start to love my soul no matter what comes up. So, okay, that's me. That's today. That's truth.
Yeah. Yeah. So before we take a break, I have to ask this because this is something that I talk a lot about in my courses. I call it the higher self, but you're referring to it as the spirit. So either one, either word is accurate. The higher self or the spirit doesn't judge in the same way that our soul or our inner self does, because it sees the bigger picture. It sees the perfection of what it is that you're going through, or what it is that you're even doing to yourself, or your entire life. It sees the bigger picture and it says, well, okay, I get it. You had to abuse yourself when you were 20 years old. Okay. So what did you learn from that?
Right.
What did you clean up from that? What did you do in terms of awakening from that? But it doesn't, you said that it grieves. I don't believe that it grieves. I believe it says, yeah, that was perfect. Okay. What do we need to get from that? What are your feelings about that?
I think, of course, you're absolutely right. Like the higher self, the spirit aspect of us, it's where all the true power is. It's where patience and kindness and goodness and understanding and wisdom and truth, it's all located at this deeper place. And it can really help us to transform our patterns. And because it's so unconditional loving, it's pure unconditional loving, there can be no judgment. There's no good or bad or right or wrong coming from that place. It's, of course you did that. You didn't know better. What did you learn? Right? That's the voice of the Holy Spirit. But when our soul, like you're having this relationship too, like your soul and this higher, higher consciousness or spirit, the soul and the spirit, or the ego and the higher power, it's all the same thing. If, let's say, for a while, the spirit's saying, it's not in your best interest, it's not beneficial, it's not a judgment, for you to continue behaving this way. And it may even give you tools like, or it might, you might have a synchronistic moment where somebody comes into your life and is ready to be your teacher, to take you to that next step. And if you don't follow it, if you're not willing to really follow the promptings of the Spirit, there's a real sadness that ends up being in our soul or in our spirit, whatever. It's the mix. When there's this tug, like, come this way. No. I'm afraid I'm going to have to change.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to. Very rebellious, our soul, very resistant.
Yes.
And as the whole spiritual teaching and all of the big spiritual texts is, you have to surrender that part, as you know.
Yeah.
Surrender ego to higher power, surrender your soul to your spirit. So I don't know really where it's coming from, to tell you the truth. If there is a Bible verse in the Bible, and it does say that the Holy Spirit grieves for you when you're unwilling to follow, because it knows what's best.
Yeah.
And then you go the other way.
Yeah. And I was going to say, it also kicks you in the butt too.
Exactly.
Okay, you're not listening. Bam. So yeah. Well, we need to take a little bit of a break, and when we come back, I'm going to ask Tonyah about emotions. I found out something very interesting, that there's, I think you said 54 different emotions. So we'll talk about that a little bit. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Om Times TV. Do you crave joy but feel stuck? Do you go through life feeling constantly triggered and frustrated? Fear is likely the culprit, and subconscious fear is likely sabotaging you. Perfect Life Awakening is a time-tested, spiritually based approach to inner transformation created by Royce Morales. For over 40 years, she has helped people get to the origins of subconscious fears and ultimately help them find their true purpose and a life full of joy. Sign up for Perfect Life Awakening today at roycemorales.com. You deserve to go from triggered to empowered, shifting your life with Perfect Life Awakening. Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. Om Times Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, Om Times offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an Om Times magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on Om Times TV and broadcasting it across the extensive Om Times radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. Om Times. Open yourself to the possibilities.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
Welcome back. I'm talking with Tonyah Dee, and this is an amazing conversation. And we were talking about spirit and soul and all kinds of things. But I want you to talk about, we just got a wonderful message. Thank you, Bruce. I want you to talk a little bit about emotions. You have created a deck of cards to help people to recognize their emotions. And I know that that's one of the most difficult things that people go through in their journey. I think a lot of it is because we're not really taught about our emotions. Some people had parents that said, "Oh, don't feel that way," or oh, you're so silly when you cry, or look at the bright side, whatever it is, the message that we've received really starts suppressing those natural, important emotions that we need to feel. So tell us a little bit about how you feel about emotion, how you feel about emotions, and then share your card deck that you developed.
Oh my goodness, it's such a big topic. Thank goodness, like emotional intelligence is like this topic these days. And, there's a lot of questions like, does the thought come before the emotion, or does the emotion maybe come before the thought? And I'm not sure if it really matters, but for sure we all have emotion. And I came from one of those families. We were not a family that ever expressed emotion. So when I got into therapy in my 30s, they'd ask me what I was feeling. I'm like, good, bad, it was very interesting, overwhelmed. It was very, like, I didn't have the vocabulary. So I started to just really dive deep into what emotions are. And once I developed for myself even this like little deck of like cards that really came from my soul's history. So I believe that everything is stored in our soul from the time we're born, all of our experiences, all of our memories, all of our emotions. And these form our beliefs, like our fears and our limited beliefs, all come from that experience, those experiences in our soul. And they're stored in there. And now they're saying, science can prove that emotions are energetic quality, and they can kind of cause havoc inside of our body.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like they can lead to disease and depression and anxiety. We know that. And so it becomes uber important to be able to identify what you're feeling. And when you identify a feeling, it's already halfway to being released. It takes the energetic quality and just makes it a little bit lighter. So what I noticed is, for me, what I ended up doing is I developed these cards called, I have decks, emotional clarity cards. The T is, this is my deck, so I don't hand it out to people, but this one's for men. And I have one for groups. So it has both the male and the female on it. And I have one just for women. And they have, this is an example of a card in the group card. Let's say you're having a feeling, you sit down, you start to go through the deck of cards, and you realize, yeah, that kind of looks like what I'm feeling and sounds like, yeah, I kind of feel abandoned. But you still don't really know, maybe it's abandonment. And then at the very top of the card, it'll say more synonyms for abandoned: deserted, rejected, discarded, cast aside. And you start thinking, oh yeah, yep, that's how I'm feeling. And the opposite is loved and valued, supported and wanted. Oh yeah, I'm not feeling like that. And then, like, bingo, you're like, oh, I feel abandoned. Boom. And all of a sudden your soul is, your emotions are coming from our soul, is valued, is seen, is heard. Our emotions are just expressions of how we are experiencing life, every little bit of life. Someone comes along and, makes you angry. And a lot of us, just like females, like, I'm not going to say anything. We got this like inner anger now inside of us, just causing this havoc. And really, one thing we do once we identify, like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling angry. immediately your soul just goes like, thank you. You see me. And a lot of times I have cards in my deck that explain how to either process the emotion by yourself. There's little steps to process it by yourself. And it kind of says fill in the blanks here. I am feeling blank. I have compassion. I can show myself kindness. I need. Or like if you're in a group, how you express your feelings. Or if you're with a partner and you need to express your feelings. And that's kind of taking it the next step. A lot of times you can resolve the emotional, that feeling that you have. I feel emotional just by saying, I feel betrayed. That person, I just felt like that person betrayed me. And that's all you need to do. Because it's like, oh, okay, I feel betrayed. You feel seen. And the feeling just kind of is now discharged. But the next step that is very helpful too, if you hear this from your higher spirit or your whatever, the voice of wisdom, I think you should tell that person this. Because communication is what creates relationship. And without communication, we have no relationship. And without honesty, there's no vulnerability, there's no trust. So you're developing self-trust just by saying, oh, I know what I'm feeling. All of a sudden you can start trusting yourself in every situation because you know what you're feeling after that situation. And then you share it with somebody. I have steps. It's always sharing from your heart. It's always sharing in a loving way. It's never accusatory. It's, I feel betrayed. When you did this, I felt betrayed. And people receive that so much better when it's like, oh, they can see like you're hurting versus you did this and I didn't like it, whatever. It's like when you start accusing you, people get defensive right away.
Yeah.
So, I think that for things like eating disorders, especially, and things that are kind of real self-abusive, one of the main keys is identifying the feeling and having assertive communication, not passive communication or aggressive communication. It's just very gentle, assertive communication. And you start to do that just with yourself. I feel betrayed. That's my truth. And that's it. Like that is self-trust right there. And it's just so important to develop that. I know who I am. And these things like an eating disorder where there's so much control of things and substance use too. Like I'm feeling super, let's say I'm feeling really abused. I'm in this relationship, I feel abused, but I can't say I feel abused because I have fears or whatever. But you say to yourself, I feel abused. And that's the first step. And then you can tell like a trusted friend, I feel abused. And it begins to take you into your soul's journey. This is why pain shouldn't be looked at as negative feelings. They're negative because they have a negative charge in our body. But all feelings will lead us to a place of healing if we allow it. And so we end up getting sometimes the triggering, like we get triggered. I feel abused, and it's really strong in our body. That could be because in our childhood, we felt that same feeling and it's still stored in our body. Let's say we have this much abuse feeling already in our body, and one person does one little thing that kind of felt the same way as these other things, and you're like, ah, right? Triggered. And so that's an indication that you need to go within and heal some past emotion. But it's like, oh, okay, I felt abused when this person did that. I felt betrayed when my godfather did this. I felt betrayed when my dad did this. And you get it out of your system, you begin to feel lighter. Too much emotional storage feels very heavy and dark. And so you just become lighter and lighter, and you stay light with a pure and open heart. The more you can just kind of like, one emotion comes in, you're like, oh, okay. And then out it goes. It's
Yeah.
passing through.
Yeah. I find that just to kind of add a little addendum to what you're saying, if I'm feeling abused in a relationship and I realize I'm able to label it as abused and I share it with my partner, but I share it in a way that says, when this happened, it triggered my abuse button.
Mm.
And gee, I'm seeing that it has nothing to do with you. It's just that it triggered all this stuff from my father and my grandfather and my past lives and all this stuff. So thank you for showing me that trigger so that I can heal it and resolve it. Because otherwise, if you say, oh, I feel abused, that's going to trigger them. And it's not going to get too far. It'll just be, well, I didn't abuse you. Well, yeah, you did, Yeah.
Yes.
So it's important to have a sense of responsibility that this is my trigger. It
Yes.
has nothing to do with you. You just activated it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes, exactly. I'm so glad you brought that up, because those, like you said, even, past lives, and who knows, it is our responsibility to heal ourselves, and we have a self-healing, it's self-feeling. Somebody had said, feel the cells, feel everything. And the more we can get in touch with that, the more we can heal ourselves. But it is always our responsibility. And this is how the yogis teach that process, is that our soul comes into this lifetime to learn lessons. And every single person that we run into is part of something we agreed to before we even came into this world. And it's biblical too. It says God is forming every steps that you will take in your womb. So the yogi's perspective is we have to do pre-forgiveness to every single person that hurts us, because we invited that situation into our lives so that our soul can evolve. And what are we evolving towards? More love.
Yeah.
More love to self. It's the Jesus's greatest commandment. Love God, love others, love self. We're evolving into more self-love. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. And it's really about forgiving ourselves for what we did that is now attracting or choosing a lifetime, so that we can awaken to what we did first to set it all up. So that's what I teach.
Yes.
So we just have a couple more minutes. Why don't you share about your book and how to get in touch with you and everything about yourself?
Thanks, Royce. Thanks so much. This has just been great. It went by way too fast. So my book that I wrote is How to Meditate with Jesus, 8 Steps to Connect to a Higher Power and Be Set Free. And it's 8 simple steps. I take people through the body, the breath, the our word that we use, our heart, our spirit, our soul, and a prayer practice where you're now starting to really talk and listen to this higher power. And so the chapters are very short, and I did doodle art throughout my book. And here's the one on the spirit. Let's see. And then the very back of the book has a 40-day practice. There's something about practicing something for 40 days. So there's a whole journal in the back of the book that you follow and try to meditate for a season of your life. I just tell people, give it a season. It doesn't, you don't have to do it a lifetime, but to be able to really tap into those inner parts, it requires at least a period of your life. So my website is tonyahdee.com.
Great.
And my business name is Yahlight, YAHLIGHT, yahlight.com.
Wonderful.
Yes, that means the light of God.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We're running out of time here, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
And keep doing the amazing work that you're doing. And follow her wherever she is. She's on Facebook and LinkedIn, and sign up for my Awakening panel discussion, August 8th, 888, August 8th at 8 o'clock. So thank you all for joining us. I will see you next week.
Sounds good.